Welcome to today's deep dive. We are jumping straight into a really fascinating, honestly, wildly surreal excerpt today.
Yeah, it's quite the trip.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's from a sci-fi narrative titled My Red Blood Cell Was a Black Hole. And our mission for you today is to unpack this one massive paradigm-shifting question that the text throws at us.
Right, the manifestation question.
Exactly. Like, how is it physically, scientifically possible for a person's imagination to literally manifest a living, breathing human being?
Right. Not a metaphor, a literal person.
Yes. And more importantly, we are going to explore how this narrative uses the bizarre, beautiful astrophysics of its own universe to actually justify it.
And we are viewing all of this through the perspective of a character named River. She has to piece together this impossible puzzle, basically while questioning the very nature of reality itself.
It's a lot for her to handle.
It's a profound journey for River, primarily because, she isn't just handed a textbook explanation of how this world operates.
Right, she doesn't get a manual.
Exactly. She has to deduce the mechanics of creation by witnessing it firsthand. So to understand the science of how this character named Belle comes to exist, we first have to follow River as she experiences the deeply emotional, raw act of his creation.
Okay, let's unpack this setup, because we
Yeah.
really need to set the scene for you to grasp how disorienting this is for River.
Go for it.
So River is drifting into this, like, half-sleep state. And just moments before, she was listening to her friends, Henry and Max, hotly debating whether they can actually trust this mysterious guy named Belle.
Right, in the real world.
Yeah. River closes her eyes, she tunes into the cadence of Belle's voice, and suddenly she's hit with this overwhelming visceral sensation of falling.
Oh, wow.
She braces for an impact that never comes, and she stops just short of a door. The entire world basically shifts around her. She looks down at her hand and she finds a ring on her finger.
But it's not just a normal ring.
No, it's not a normal piece of jewelry at all. The stone literally encapsulates a miniature, swirling, starry vista.
And that ring serves as a brilliant visual anchor. I mean, it signals to River and to you, the reader, that she has stepped entirely outside the conventional bounds of space-time.
Yeah, she's somewhere else completely.
Right. She is entering a domain where the laws of physics are fluid. They're governed by something much deeper than just gravity and momentum.
So she hears this faint, humming tune. She pushes open the door, and there is Belle, the very guy her friends were just arguing about.
But he's not doing anything nefarious.
Not at all.
Hmm.
He's gently soothing a baby with a lullaby. And then a woman in a floral dress with shimmering golden hair walks into the room. She lightly teases Belle about waking the baby up and calls him back to their study.
Which is just so domestic.
It's completely bewildering for River. She looks out the window at a landscape that seems entirely brand new. And Belle notices River standing there, but he's completely unsurprised.
Of course he is.
Right, and River realizes she is looking at Belle's family. But here is the catch, right? Belle is supposed to be a figure from centuries in the past.
Yeah, the anachronism of that moment is what really forces River to question everything she knows.
Yeah, for now.
Belle tells her she's the sharpest of her group, and he invites her to take a stroll to what he calls his birthplace.
Oh, this part is amazing.
It really is. They step out of this quiet domestic scene and suddenly emerge onto these bustling, incredibly noisy streets in an era that is totally unfamiliar to River. The sensory overload is intense.
It's a huge shift.
Yeah, they navigate through the crowd, slip into this dusty old bookstore, and head to the second floor. And there, secretly observing from the shadows, River sees Max.
Wait, the same Max from the present?
The exact same Max who was just doubting Belle in the present day.
And the narrative brilliantly shifts gears here from, mere observation into outright telepathy.
Right, mind-reading aspect.
Yeah. Belle instructs River to focus her mind, and when she does, the ambient noise of the bookstore just fades away, and they can literally hear Max's internal monologue broadcasting like a radio frequency.
And what he's broadcasting is wild. Max is sitting there furiously sketching out an idealized fictional life. He is basically drowning in regret, and you hear him mentally constructing a handsome young scientist from a bygone era.
The details are crazy.
The level of detail he pours into this creation is staggering. He envisions a man who is tall, with piercing eyes, round glasses, a sharp jawline, pointy shoes, and holding a mechanical pen.
A total polymath, basically.
Exactly. Max isn't just drawing. He is writing an exhaustive, elaborate backstory. He names his creation Belle.
Right.
He decides Bell marries a golden-haired woman named Nova, and they have a daughter named River.
Which suddenly contextualizes the woman in the floral dress and the baby that River just saw through that dream door.
Right? It all clicks.
Max is essentially writing a highly detailed fan fiction of his own life.
Yeah.
But he's substituting his flawed self with a better, more adventurous, perfect version who gets everything right. The emotional core of this sequence, though, is the sheer unbearable weight of Max's internal turmoil. Because later that night, River and Belle follow Max out of the bookstore to a park in the early hours of the morning.
This scene is so heavy.
It really is. Max looks up at the sky, completely overwhelmed. He drags himself over to a bridge, pulls out his notebook, and begins to weep. His tears are physically mingling with the ink of his sketches.
Yeah.
He violently tears the pages out of the binding, whispers to himself, "I lived another day," and lets the loose pages flutter away into the dark breeze.
Yeah.
And River is so moved by this raw display of pain that she gathers the remnants of the sketches.
You know that whispered phrase, "I lived another day"?
Yeah.
That is the sound of a man who is surviving purely on fumes. He's relying entirely on the architecture of this fantasy to endure the crushing weight of his reality.
Totally.
But as River gathers those torn pages, the profound truth of the situation crystallizes in her mind. This wasn't just a therapeutic writing exercise.
And I really want to pause here and dissect the magnitude of this realization for you listening. Because we use metaphors all the time when talking about art.
Well,
Right?
constantly.
A novelist will say, "Oh, my characters just took on a life of their own. They started speaking to me."
Right, yeah.
But River realizes that Max actually physically, biologically birthed Belle in that exact moment on the dark bridge.
It's mind-blowing.
The text demands we transition from viewing this as a literary metaphor into accepting it as a literal cosmic reality.
Yeah.
So how does the narrative construct a bridge between a man crying over a notebook and the biological synthesis of a human being?
Well, River actually confronts Belle with this exact dilemma. She basically demands to know the mechanics of his existence. And the text provides a rigorously thought-out scientific framework to justify it.
Okay, lay it on us.
It revolves around a concept we normally reserve for astrophysics, which is dark matter.
Yes. Let's get into the mechanics of this because it is fascinating. The narrative establishes through Henry, the other character River was with earlier, that dark matter is the foundational element linking the massive cosmos to human existence.
Right.
It's this omnipresent, unseen force that constitutes the vast majority of the universe's mass.
And Riven theorizes that human thought, specifically Max's intense, concentrated emotional regret and his highly detailed imagination, operates as a form of energy.
Okay.
And this energy is capable of interacting with the unseen forces of dark matter. But the crucial piece of the puzzle is why Max succeeded in creating a permanent, independent life form, whereas others failed.
Right, because River and Henry have conjured things in the past within this universe,
Yeah.
but they never created a living, breathing, autonomous person.
Exactly. And Bell points out a vital distinction. When River and Henry conjured their creations, they ultimately destroyed them. They manifested things to harness power for their own personal use, and when they were finished, they eliminated the creations to reclaim the energy they had initially invested. They refused to relinquish control over their own mental output.
Wow. Okay, so Max's methodology was entirely different, albeit accidental.
Very accidental.
The text states that Max excised the concept of himself to start afresh. He didn't attempt to control the fantasy or hoard the energetic investment.
No, he just poured it all out.
He poured every ounce of his regret, his meticulous blueprints for this polymath scientist, and his idealized self into those sketches on the bridge. And then, crucially, he let them go.
He let the pages flutter away into the wind.
Right, he released the concept rather than destroying it to absorb its power back into his own ego. So, what does this all mean?
Well, if we hypothesize about the underlying mechanics here, the intense emotional release of Max completely letting go of that fantasy likely created a sort of neuroelectric vacuum.
Oh, interesting.
He emptied himself of that specific mental architecture. And dark matter, being this omnipresent reactive substance, rushed in to fill that void.
I mean, imagine if dark matter is like the universe's ultimate invisible 3D printer ink.
Right. I love that analogy.
It permeates everything. Most people, like River and Henry, print out rough drafts of their desires, and then they immediately shove those drafts into the shredder so they can recycle the ink for their next selfish thought.
Right. They keep the closed loop internal.
Exactly. But Max printed out a hyper-specific, emotionally charged blueprint of his idealized self walk completely away from the printer, and the universe abhorring a vacuum let that ink keep printing.
Layer by layer.
Yes, fueled by the ambient dark matter until that blueprint solidified into a real, autonomous person wandering the timeline.
Max surrendered the architecture of his creation to the cosmos, and the cosmos completed the physical assembly. And, the specificity you mentioned
The
earlier.
hoodie shoes and the pen.
Yes, the round glasses, the pointy shoes, the mechanical pen. That provided the exact geometric constraints the dark matter needed to build the physical form.
But wait, if dark matter is the ink connecting human thought to physical reality, how does the text logically bridge the massive gap between the macro scale of the universe and the microscopic scale of human neurobiology?
It's a huge leap, right?
It feels like a massive conceptual leap to say human brains can command the same material that holds galaxies together.
Well, Bell offers a beautifully elegant theory to bridge that gap. And he does it by asking River to consider the concept of geometry as a universal language.
Okay, I'm listening.
He starts with the macro. He asks her to picture the grand tapestry of the cosmos, specifically focusing on the extreme physics of black holes.
Okay, so objects with gravitational pulls so intense that they warp and sculpt space-time into a massive, inescapable curve that ensnares light itself.
Right, the absolute extreme of macroscopic physics governed by relativity. Then, Bell asks River to violently shift her perspective to the absolute micro, down to the fundamental essence of the human body. He points to the red blood cells endlessly navigating through our veins.
Oh, wow. Okay, we all know what red blood cells do, right? They deliver oxygen. But the text focuses heavily on their specific shape.
Yes.
They are biconcave discs. They look like a sphere that has been pinched in the center on both sides.
Exactly.
That shape is an evolutionary marvel designed to optimize surface area within a restricted volume for maximum efficiency in gas exchange.
And Bell synthesizes the space-time well of a black hole and the biconcave shape of a red blood cell using a specific mathematical concept, which is Gaussian curvature.
Oh, let's dive into Gaussian curvature, because this is where the science gets incredibly cool.
It's fascinating.
Gaussian curvature isn't just about how something looks. It measures intrinsic curvature. It describes how a surface bends or curves without being stretched, torn, or distorted.
Right. Like if you take a flat piece of paper and roll it into a tube, its intrinsic curvature hasn't changed. It's still zero because the relationships between the points on the paper remain identical.
But a sphere has positive curvature.
And a saddle shape has negative curvature.
Right.
Bell argues that a black hole, which creates an extreme curvature in the fabric of space-time, and a biconcave red blood cell, which utilizes negative curvature to maximize its biological efficiency, are both expressions of the exact same underlying mathematical efficiency.
Oh, wow. So the universe is optimizing for completely different things.
Yeah.
Ensnaring light via gravity on one end and keeping human tissue oxygenated on the other.
Yeah.
But it is using the exact same underlying mathematical vocabulary to achieve both. Bell calls this a poetic dialect, right?
He does. He suggests the universe expresses its fundamental truths in a poetic dialect narrated entirely through geometry. Whether it is the vast, terrifying expanse of deep space or the microscopic building blocks of life inside your own veins, the universe communicates through these mathematical shapes.
And River is incredibly sharp, so she takes this concept of a geometric, poetic dialect and applies it directly back to the dark matter problem.
Right.
She realizes that if the universe uses the same math everywhere, then dark matter must be a universal chameleon.
A chameleon, exactly.
It's a highly adaptable, versatile entity that reads this geometric language and shapes its surroundings depending on the specific environment. In the vacuum of space, it shapes cosmic structures and galactic halos.
Yeah.
But when introduced to the intense, highly structured geometric blueprint of a human mind, like Max's meticulously detailed sketches and overwhelming emotional energy, it shapes physical, biological reality out of pure thought.
The implication is profound. I mean, it reinforces the idea that humanity is not a separate, isolated phenomenon merely observing the cosmos.
Right.
We're constructed from the same foundational materials, and our consciousness operates using the same geometric language as the stars.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because if the universe is this deeply interconnected, if everything from the blood in our veins to the black holes in distant galaxies is tied together by dark matter and this poetic dialect of geometry,
It raises some scary questions.
it forces River to confront a terrifying reality about the lifespan of existence itself. Because everything, no matter how vast, eventually ends. Bell and River suddenly pivot from discussing the miraculous creation of life to contemplating the absolute end of their entire universe.
Yeah, Bell introduces a strictly cyclical view of the cosmos. He heavily leans on the foundational laws of physics, specifically the conservation of energy and matter.
Right, the absolute principle that nothing in the universe ever truly vanishes, it merely transforms from one state to another.
Exactly. Bell observes that their current universe is in a gradual, irreversible state of collapse. But applying those laws of conservation, he argues that the impending destruction is not a true ending. As their universe compresses and breaks down, the massive release of energy means a new universe is concurrently arising from the wreckage. The death of one is the necessary genesis of another.
It's very poetic.
He paints this incredibly romantic, philosophical picture of transitioning into this new universe, describing it like a gentle voyage into an unexplored, pristine realm.
But River, however, completely shatters that romanticism with a dose of brutal, grounded scientific reality.
Oh, she definitely does.
She doesn't let him get away with poeticizing the apocalypse. I love her pushback here. Bell is talking about sailing into a new universe, and River basically tells him that the transition would be an apocalyptic meat grinder.
It would be brutal.
She points out the catastrophic, violent physics involved in that kind of cosmic shift. She uses this brilliant analogy from the text, arguing that trying to accelerate through the collapsing cosmos into a newly forming universe would be like opening a car window at high speed.
Except the car is reality itself.
Right.
And the atmosphere outside is the chaotic, unformed energy of a birthing universe.
Exactly. She argues that humanity wouldn't just gently float across the threshold. We would be violently obliterated into fine dust particles.
Yeah.
She breaks down the sheer, terrifying physics of it. The atmosphere would be stripped away, oceans would boil into the void, soil, bedrock, and entire mountain ranges would be uprooted and set adrift into catastrophic cosmic storms.
So not a serene voyage.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It would be a universal blender, tearing the atomic structure of everything apart.
Her pragmatism beautifully grounds Bell's philosophical musings, though, because it forces them to confront a stark question. If we cannot physically survive the collapse of our universe to see what comes next, what is the point of our existence?
Right. Why does this fictional cosmic doom matter to you listening to this right now?
Well, Bell uses this terrifying, inescapable reality to emphasize the miracle of the present. He urges River to consider the incredible, unbroken evolutionary journey of humanity.
He traces the lineage all the way back, right?
Yes, all the way back from our humblest, single-celled ancestors, those microscopic entities governed by the very same Gaussian curvature they just discussed, all the way up to present humanity.
A species capable of dreaming, inventing, and unraveling the geometric secrets of the cosmos.
He tells her, we are the future they could never have envisaged. A single-celled organism couldn't possibly conceptualize a human being writing a symphony or mapping a black hole.
Right, yeah.
Similarly, we cannot fully conceptualize the reality that will emerge after our universe collapses. Our inability to see the future doesn't negate the value of our current existence.
In fact, it makes living fully in the present moment an absolute imperative. If we are the miraculous temporary result of billions of years of cosmic and biological evolution, fueled by dark matter and universal geometry, we have to recognize the immense value of the now before the window closes.
And this sweeping realization about cosmic lifespans and the importance of the present moment brings River right back to the intimate human tragedy that initiated this entire cascade of thought. Max's agonizing turmoil on the dark bridge.
It perfectly loops back to the beginning. River has this profound synthesis of everything she has learned. She looks at Bell, this living, breathing person who was conjured from dark matter, geometric specificity, and immense regret, and she marvels at the fact that he emerged directly in the wake of Max's pain.
Yeah.
Bell was born from the remnants of what was not entirely lost to despair. She compares this psychological creation perfectly to the cosmic physics Bell just explained.
Boy, the birthing universe.
Yes, Bell is quite literally a new universe birthing from the ashes of an old one. Max's old hopes, his sense of self, died on that bridge. But from the energetic ashes of that emotional collapse, the universe conserved the energy and manifested Bell.
It is a stunning, elegant synthesis of macrocosmic theory and deeply personal human psychology.
It really is.
But, arriving at this understanding triggers a massive wave of guilt in River.
Oh, because of how she treated Max.
Exactly. She expresses profound regret over her own blindness. She realizes she wasn't there for Max in his darkest moment. She notes that in their era, society places a significant emphasis on mental health, particularly the often overlooked mental well-being of men.
Yeah.
Yet she feels she fundamentally failed her friend when he was at his lowest, sketching away his pain in a dark park just trying to survive another day.
Which leads to Bell delivering his ultimate piercing critique of humanity. Can you break down his response? Because while River is spiraling in guilt, Bell starts fiddling with his ring, that same ring encapsulating the starry vista, and he delivers a sharp observation about how human beings operate.
Right. He observes that humanity's greatest, most limiting dilemma is our relentless penchant for categorization.
Hmm.
We constantly try to force the infinite complexities of existence into neat, manageable boxes. He argues that mental health, human suffering, and the need for connection should never be segmented.
They're universal.
Yes, they are universal constants that should concern everyone, completely transcending the narrow, artificial confines we construct, whether those confines are gender, nationality, skin color, or language.
And if we trace that logic back to the physics they discussed, why do we compartmentalize human existence into such rigid, narrow categories when the universe itself completely refuses to do so?
Exactly.
Just as dark matter fluidly connects the immense gravitational well of a black hole, the microscopic curvature of a red blood cell, our shared human experience should transcend arbitrary social categories. We're all governed by the same energy, the same sorrow, and the same geometric laws.
And Bell explicitly affirms this to River, drawing a final parallel between the mind and the cosmos. He states that the human mind, much like the universe itself, holds absolutely boundless potential.
Yeah.
It is capable of enduring immense, crushing suffering like Max tearing up his sketches on the bridge, but it is equally capable of literal creation. It can build universes, or in this specific instance, it can harness the fundamental forces of reality to create Bell.
The astrophysics, the dark matter, the Gaussian curvature, all of it serves as a massive cosmic mirror in this narrative to reflect the sheer unimaginable power of human empathy, regret, and imagination.
It's brilliantly done.
So, to summarize the massive conceptual territory we've covered today, we started with River stepping through a dream door into a reality that defied space-time. We witnessed the raw, agonizing act of creation, theorizing how the energetic vacuum of Max's regret drew in dark matter to manifest a living human being.
Right.
We explored how the universe speaks a poetic dialect of geometry, seamlessly linking the extreme gravity of black holes to the biological efficiency of red blood cells.
And we faced the terrifying, violent collapse of universes.
Only to realize that the conservation of energy always leads to rebirth. And ultimately, we learned that all of this cosmic wonder brings us right back down to the boundless potential of the human mind and our desperate universal need to connect with one another without categorization.
It is a masterclass in how science fiction can utilize the extreme theoretical edges of astrophysics to illuminate the deepest, most vulnerable parts of the human condition.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for breaking down the intricate physics and the emotional depths of this incredible text today.
It was an absolute pleasure exploring it with you.
And as we wrap up today's deep dive, we want to leave you with one final thought to mull over as you go about your day. We spent a lot of time discussing Bell's belief in the conservation of energy, that absolute law stating nothing ever truly vanishes in the cosmos, it only transforms into something else.
Right.
If that mathematical law holds true for the energy of stars and the matter in black holes, what happens to the energy of your own discarded ideas?
Oh, that's a good question.
What happens to the electrical impulses of your unfulfilled daydreams? The sketches you tore up out of frustration, the hopes you quietly let flutter away into the breeze? Are they truly gone, or is that energy out there somewhere interacting with the dark matter of the universe, slowly, quietly building a new reality of its own? Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.